So Bloom's taxonomy is used all over the world to understand, to learn learning outcomes. So Benjamin S. Bloom, 1950, developed a taxonomy called the taxonomy levels of learning in cognitive domain. So cognitive means, intellectual, something related. Cognition means intelligence. The word cognition means intelligence. So cognitive domain is a domain that is learning, that is related to intelligence. And intelligence learning, for learning something, intelligence is very essential. So learning is directly related to cognition. So he developed a taxonomy of objectives learning in cognitive domain. So it is called taxonomy because it comes from the word taxis and nomos. Taxis means nomos means laws. Taxis means arrangement. So taxonomy means lawful arrangement. Lawful arrangement of an objective. Or the science of classification. Taxonomy means science of classification or lawful, because in taxonomy there is a hierarchy is there. If we break the hierarchy, we cannot break the hierarchy, because in cognitive level, learning takes place, the mental process of thinking takes place in a particular hierarchy. That is called, it is a science of taxis and nomos, that is lawful arrangement of educational objectives or cognitive level can be classified. So this is Bloom's taxonomy of levels of mastery learning. There are 6 levels of learning according to Benjamin S. Bloom. There are 6 levels of learning. First is knowledge. Second is comprehension. Third is application. Fourth is analysis. Fifth is synthesis. And sixth is evaluation. So there are 6 levels of mastery learning according to Benjamin S. Bloom. And Bloom's taxonomy of education, Bloom and his associate devised this taxonomy, and I have just defined within 5 minutes. I will tell about Bloom's taxonomy earlier, but in objective-based instruction what we are using. Bloom's taxonomy we are using in earlier, that is, there are 3 domains: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Cognitive domain is by Benjamin S. Bloom and his associate. And affective domain is psychomotor domain is there, and it is there are so many classifications by Simpson, Dale, Kurzweil. There are so many associates. So these are the 3 domains in an education of taxonomy of objective. So in classroom we are giving prime importance to cognitive taxonomy, that is cognitive domain. In cognitive domain, the hierarchy is knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. And affective domain is there. Then psychomotor domain is there. Affective domain, all feelings, emotions, interest, attitude, appreciation, etc. are in affective domain. And in psychomotor domain is the domain in which there is neuromuscular coordination. That is, both our mental and physical activity are needed in a psychomotor. And in earlier objective-based instruction, we are taking only up to application level. That is, the classroom teacher can take children up to the application level. And after when constructivism comes, we are taking these 6 levels also. Can you follow? Hello? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So in cognitive taxonomy, there are 6 levels are there. Knowledge is there, comprehension is there, application is there. So the cognitive domain is known as the heart tree, H we are calling. Heart, head, heart and heart. H is the head is cognitive domain, affective domain is the heart domain, and hand domain is a psychomotor domain. From psychomotor domain we are taking scale. And so we can study only the cognitive domain by Benjamin S. Bloom. In cognitive domain, first domain is knowledge. Knowledge is in the lowest level of mastery of a subject. So as a result of this domain, the mental process is either we can remember something or we can call something. That is, ability to remember without understanding. It is difficult to understand. So Bloom's has revised the taxonomy, which is the first taxonomy, not revised one. So in first taxonomy, there are six are there: knowledge, comprehension, application, understand, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. In cognitive level, that is level one is knowledge. So the first the child has to have the master, in order to have a mastery, not only the child, whoever want to have a mastery over the subject, they have to learn the knowledge level. That is mastery. The mental process that takes place in this level is remember or recall. And also the what kind of learning takes place is you are remembering or recalling something is without understanding. Suppose you are studying in India's freedom movement. And when a child can recall, India got independence in the year 1947. Without understanding anything about independence freedom movement, you can say that. Without understanding, you can remember the date. That is called the knowledge level. Next is comprehension. Bloom classified this level as the next higher level. It is higher than the knowledge level. That is, knowledge plus something is called a comprehension. That is, ability to understand the subject and explain in his own words with new example. So first, when you complete the knowledge level, then you go to the next hierarchy, that is comprehension. So while suppose you are teaching something, as a teacher we are teaching something, first we are providing something in the knowledge level. Then we go to the higher order, that is comprehension level. That is the child is understand something. He can explain and describe it in his own words with new examples, and that is called the comprehension. Third is application. Application is a higher level learning. That is, whatever the concepts he learned, he can apply it in a new context or a situation. So once you cannot understand, you cannot apply, because understanding is a sense that you can explain it in your own words. You know, understand all the meanings, what exactly the concept is. So whatever you learn in understanding level, application level is all things what we learned, you can apply it in a new situation. And the third is analysis. Analysis is higher than application. Once you reach the analysis level, that is, you should be able to break the information into constituent parts and determine how these parts are related to one another and to the overall structure. Suppose you can see that there are building blocks are there, or suppose the different parts of a car. We are separating into different parts and asking the child to assemble it. The child can assemble only when the child understands the relationship between the different parts. And when these different parts are combined together, they can make a whole structure of a car. So, analysis means we can putting it into debating into constituent parts and determining how the parts are related to each other. And with this part, how can you make a whole? That is analysis. So that is again higher order. So once you understand, have knowledge, then you go to understanding. Once you understand something, you can apply it in a new situation. When you can apply it in a new situation, you can analyze it. And synthesis is higher than analysis in the sense that children should be able to synthesize new materials, new products, generate new ideas, new models, new software, new designs of the product. So once they are understanding the different parts in the analysis, and they can understand how they can make an overall structure of something, then they can go to the synthesis. That is, with this part, they can make a new material, because building blocks are there. Sometimes the student, you can see children are building blocks based on the picture is given in, and after that they study the whole thing and they are forming pyramids, they are forming different structures, etc. In higher level, by using the same thing, they are generating new ideas, they are developing new models, they are developing new software, they are designing something, product, etc. That is called synthesis. Evaluation is a higher level in this than synthesis. The student should be able to evaluate different designs, models, procedures, softwares, etc. And they can identify why one is superior to other, and what are the benchmarks, and based on that the existing standards they can evaluate. That is evaluation is something based on internal evidence and external criteria. Internal evidence is there and external criteria, and actually evaluation is called a value judgment. So we have to value all the things, and we can evaluate why one product is superior to another, and why one design is in par with the existing standard. benchmarks of a particular product. Is this product is in accordance with the benchmark of that particular product, or what are the existing standards, etc. They have to understand in a evaluation. So these are the 6 hierarchy. And when suppose a child cannot learn knowledge, he cannot comprehend, he cannot apply, and he cannot synthesize, he cannot, because this learning takes place only in this hierarchy. For example, we can see that suppose you are teaching a student in mathematics. So when a small child, so we can start from, in order to learn mathematics, first he has number concept. That he knows what is ascending order and 1 to 100 and 100 to 1. That means he has number concept. If a student doesn't have number concept, he cannot do addition. If he is thorough with the addition, then he can go to subtraction. When he is thorough with the addition and subtraction, then he can do multiplication. Then he is thorough with the multiplication, then only he can do division. If a child is not thorough with the addition, he cannot do multiplication, because 5 into 5 is multiplication. 5 times adding is called the addition. So he has to differentiate what is addition, multiplication, division. Then only he can do fraction. So it goes in a hierarchy, because knowledge, understanding, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. This is the older taxonomy. And in older taxonomy, we are evaluating all these things in a. So using this taxonomy, teacher can plan different levels of mastery of subject, because any course can be taught in any level. If suppose a teacher wanted to teach only up to application level, he can do that. He wanted to go beyond that analysis part, he can do that. So any content can be taught in any level, according to the caliber of the teacher, according to the competency of the teacher, according to the subject competency of the teacher, according to the norms of the teacher, he can teach. So learning outcomes of any course and students according to teacher expectation teacher can plan all these levels of mastery of the subject to be achieved by the students. So second is she will select the instructional materials, methods and assessment methods. So based on taxonomy, because first I have to determine what outcome, suppose I am teaching this, what should be the outcome. So based on that I am planning the materials, I am planning the instructional materials, method I am using, etc. Suppose if you want to do the preparation of hydrogen in a classroom, what you have to do? If you are saying that for preparation hydrogen, this kind of apparatus is needed, this is the process, like that. Rather than you do a demonstration in a lab, the children will easily understand. So the methodology depends. Suppose you wanted to teach the students actually how to prepare hydrogen, then you have, I don't know whether that example is correct or not, I am not competent in chemistry. But preparation of hydrogen or that can be done in a lab through an experiment, then they can understand. So suppose you are teaching in the structure of a, if you are using PowerPoint or if you can use any methodology you want, either you can use lecture method, you can do demonstration method, you can do the laboratory method, or you can do a project method, etc. So what kind of mastery your students wanted to learn in a, or what kind of outcome of the course you wanted, based on that you can plan the subject. You can select the instructional materials, what materials are used. If you want a chalk and a blackboard, you can use that. If you want all the equipments in a laboratory and you set a lab and you set all the apparatus and use all the chemicals and you do the preparation of something, then the children can easily understand, they can follow. And we can determine what are assessment methods. Regarding assessing also, we can ask any type. You can ask a question at the knowledge level, you can ask a question at the understanding level, or you can ask a question at the application level or synthesis level. So you have to determine what assessment methods you are using. You can use an achievement video, you can use an e-portfolio, you can use a rubrics, or you can use a rating scale, or anything you can use. So with this Bloom's taxonomy, teacher can plan the different levels of mastery of the subject. He can plan the courses, he can plan the course outcomes, he can plan the instructional materials, he can plan the assessment methods. Anything they can use. All this depends upon whether you wanted to take your child. So all these levels of mastery of the subject are related to thinking and mental process, so they are called the cognitive levels. So Bloom's taxonomy, knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. So it is a higher order thinking skills to more complex and lower order thinking to higher order. Knowledge is lower order. From that hierarchy, we are going to higher level evaluation. So in 1990, Lawrence Anderson and student of Bloom, and he is working with Bloom. He is several years he is working with Bloom. He revised the taxonomy in cognitive level. So the only difference is knowledge is changed to remember, comprehension is changed to understand, application is changed to apply, analysis is changed to analyze, synthesis is changed to create, and evaluation is changed to evaluate. So only that noun form is changed into verb form. That is the only difference between revised taxonomy. Not only the difference, that is a major difference. Or there is in taxonomy, he made only 2 changes. But noun forms in the cognitive level are transformed into verb forms. That is a major change. Hope you understand in taxonomy. The next thing you can understand this thing. Original forms and changed forms. Original form is, you can see, knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. And the changed form, what we do is, the first is remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. Knowledge is the same as a result of knowledge, the thinking process is remembering, comprehension is understanding, application is applying, analysis is analyze. But then comes, this is a major change. That is, original Bloom's, everything is in the noun form, and Anderson changed it in the verb form. And the last 2 higher order thinking is changed in the reverse order, that is, evaluation comes in the 5th place and synthesis is converted as create. If as a result of teaching something, the child is creating something in your classroom, that outcome is very clear. If you create, because if you are asking them to analyze something and create something, if they create something, so then there is that means they are creating rather than evaluating. Evaluation comes fifth and then comes create. So as a result of learning something, we create something new. That we can clearly show the outcome of education. That is the most important change here comes. So original Bloom's knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. Remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. And this is original forms. They are given in noun forms. It is changed into verb forms. Action verb, what the child is exactly doing. And the last 2 things are changed. And in Bloom's, synthesis is synthesis is converted as create, and evaluation is converted as evaluate, and evaluate comes 5th and create comes last, because Anderson says that if you create something new in a newer way, that is called education, or that is the result of learning. After learning something, you are creating something very new. It is creating something in an innovative form, in a novel form, that is called education. So that is the original form of that is a revised form of a taxonomy. So here you can see the lower order thinking to higher order learning. So remembering. So in remembering, what kind of mental process of thinking takes place is you can recall something, you can recognize something, you can list something, you can describe something, you can retrieve something, you can name something, you can find something. So who is the father of the nation? The children can remember Gandhi is the father of the nation. Or the year in which India got independence, the children are saying it is 1947. So they can remember. From their long-term memory, they are recalling something, some information, they are from a list of information, they are recognizing some names, or they are describing without much knowledge, they can describe, and they can name something, they can find something. All these are the mental process that takes place in the remembering. So that is a revised taxonomy. We are calling it as, instead of the knowledge, we are remembering. Knowledge is the mental process is a remembering. So you, whatever, without much information about something, or without have a thorough understanding of the something, you can say something, and that is a minimal level of learning, and that is called remembering. And next comes understanding. So when you understand, if you understand something, That means you can explain the ideas and concepts, you can interpret it, you can summarize it, you can paraphrase it, you can classify it, you can explain. So if you understand OBE very clearly, you can explain it what is OBE, what is the basic idea behind OBE. You can interpret how OBE is useful in the present scenario. You can summarize what are the principles of OBE. You can paraphrase it. You can classify OBE in Canada, OBE in Australia, or you can explain what exactly OBE is. So somebody is asking what is OBE, you're remembering it is outcome-based education, that is called remembering. So in the next level of thinking or the higher order thinking, you are understanding, you are clearly understanding the basic ideas, concepts, and you can explain the ideas and concepts. You can interpret the ideas, you can summarize the ideas, you can paraphrase the ideas, you can classify the ideas, and you can explain the ideas. All these things you can do, and that is called understanding level. So next comes application or apply. Using the information in another familiar situation, implementing, carry out, using, executing, etc. So if you have learned something and you can apply it in another familiar situation, and that is called the application. So that is called the application. So whatever, suppose you know the multiplication table and or you know addition, subtraction, multiplication. You can when you go for the child is going for a shop, he can apply the same principle there. Suppose 100 rupees is with him, he is buying 50 rupees things, and he gave 100 rupees the shop. He is asking the shopkeeper to return 50 rupees. So he is applying the basic mathematics in his real life situations. So we are learning so many theories. So the financial management theory we are learning, we are applying it in a different situation. In MBA, we are studying different advertisement this thing, and they are preparing a logo of an advertisement. They are preparing a captions for an advertisement. They are applying whatever they learned in their class. They are preparing a logo based on that, or they are preparing a caption based on that. That is application. They learned so many information. And they are applying it in the familiar implementation, or they are implementing, or they are carrying out, they are using, they are executing, etc. is called. Suppose you are learning some, you went to some colleges, you are learning some best practices in that college. You come here and you are thinking of the alternative of that in a different way, and they are implementing in your institution in a novel way. That is called implementation. So whatever things we have studied, so many things, and we are implementing in our classroom or implementing in our classroom in a different way, in a novel way, that is called the application. So next is analyzing, breaking information into parts or explore understandings and relationship between comparing, organizing, reconstructing, interrogating, finding, etc. So analyzing means whatever information you get, you break it into parts and understand and explore, and you find out the relationship between the variables. So while we are doing research, we are analyzing the data. For analyzing data, what we are doing, first we find out the raw data. Raw data are formed into rows and columns. And we are applying some statistical principles. You get some tables, using some formula you are interpreting. And you are interpreting, and you are organizing the data, you are reconstructing the data, you are interrogating, you are finding, and that is called analysis. That is, you get the raw data, you are classifying the data in the rows and columns, and you have to write a detailed report, you are reconstructing, you are compare, and you find out the relationship between one variable and another. So for finding out the relationship between one variable and another, you have to do recurrent analysis. So that is called analyze. And next comes in the revised Bloom's taxonomy, evaluating, justifying a decision or a course of action, checking, hypothesizing, predicting, experimenting, judging. That is called the evaluation. So in the revised, the original Bloom's taxonomy, evaluation comes in the end. Here the higher order thinking, evaluating comes in the fifth position. That is, you are justifying a decision or a course of action, checking, hypothesizing, predicting, experimenting, and then judging. So once you are analyzing, you get something. You have to again justify it based on that. And you have to criticize that, you have to hypothesize that, you have to check with other that. If you get some results, you have to check with the previous results. or you have to check. Once you get some results, you have to check with other results. You have to check with other reports. And you hypothesize, you criticize it, you experiment with this, you judge with it. All these are the evaluated. And next is creating. That is, from this you generate new products, you generate new ideas, new ways of doing things, designing, constructing, planning, producing, inventing, etc. is the creating. Suppose teacher is giving an environmental day, teacher is giving one caption and asking the children to, based on a picture of something, teacher is asking them to write a caption. Or based on some picture, teacher is asking them to analyze the picture, and like that, the children is coming with new ideas, new products, or new ways of doing things. And the children are designing something based on that, or they are constructing something, or they are producing, they are inventing. All these things are called creating. So creating is a higher order thinking. From analysis, evaluate and create are the higher order thinking. And remembering, understanding, apply are the lower order thinking. So higher order thinking. So if it is outcome based education, we can use higher order thinking in a classroom. If we are using Bloom's taxonomy, if we are using revised Bloom's taxonomy, in outcome-based education, we can understand higher order thinking. So you can look at this picture. Anderson's revised Bloom's taxonomy and levels of learning in cognitive domain related action verb in brackets. By using this action verb, you can write your course learning outcome. You just go to it and tell me how you can write course create learning outcome. Anderson's revised Bloom's taxonomy. So you can see the related verbs. So based on this earlier, we are using nouns, and now we are using action verb in brackets. So by using this action verb, how you can write? You have while you are writing your course outcome, and also while you are assessing, preparing an achievement test in this particular subject, what you do is you have to know how to write, because we can say that children will describe or define. So create, design, develop, devise, synthesize, construct, evaluate, judge, control, assess, analyze, calculate, compare, differentiate, examine, or apply, interpret, solve, show, predict. Hello, do you have any doubt how this action verb is used? So cognitive level is, remember, action verb used in writing the learning outcomes. So you have to write the learning outcome. If you wanted to learn how to do the learning outcomes, then now you can ask. So this is the way in which we are writing the learning outcome. So remember, remember, we can define, we can scale, we can name, we can identify, we can recognize. In understanding, we can explain, classify, describe, discuss, give examples. In apply, we can apply, interpret, solve, show, predict, employ, etc. In analysis, we can analyze, calculate, compare, differentiate, examine. In evaluate, we can evaluate something and judge. You can ask the student to conclude something. You can ask the student to assess something. And in the highest is create something. They ask them to create a design. Suppose you are teaching about advertisement portfolios, then you can ask them to create a logo, or you can ask them to create a caption for an advertisement, etc. or you can revise, you can synthesize, you can construct, etc. So formulating learning, course learning outcomes at various cognitive levels. This is very, very important. For while you are preparing a curriculum, suppose you are, because for mostly the teachers, curriculum is prepared by the university. So for university teachers, it is very essential to know how to formulate course learning outcomes. For you also, it is very important. So writing learning outcomes in terms of what learner does after undergoing a particular course. So every learning outcome statement has two parts. First is a performance part, other is a skill part. So like that you have to, so consist of the course learning outcomes consist of three parts: performance, condition and the criteria. So performance part includes the action verb, condition part includes the condition learner will perform, and criteria means how the learner will perform in terms of quality. And course learning outcome consists of performance parts, condition, criteria when necessary. So usually, according to UGC norms, UGC is in 2019 norms. This outcome-based education, once your college become an autonomous college, you people should prepare the learning outcome, program learning outcome, course learning outcome, etc. So every learning outcome has outcome has two parts. That you have to remember. Course learning outcome is different from the learning outcomes. Learning outcome has different parts, two parts. One is a performance part and the other is a skill part. So in performance part, we have to say what? That is in common STEM is after completion of this course, students should be able to do. That is the common STEM. To do. The next is the performance part. What verb you are using to do. After completion of the course, students should be able to perform, or students should be able to explain, should be able to explain, able to describe, able to perform, or able to identify. All this, that is whatever action verb, and then content part is also there. What is performance, condition, or criteria? That is, for example, if you are studying learning theory, we are saying after completion of this course, a student should be able to explain explain the learning theories. So ensure the learning outcome is observable, measurable, and achievable. So choose the action verb also accordingly. Because there are so many verbs like understand, appreciate, believe, imagine, think, etc. that cannot be measured. You cannot measure such things. Understand, appreciate, believe, imagine, think, etc. you cannot measure. So fix the learning level first. First you have to fix the learning level. Learning levels are remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, create. First you fix the learning level, then you choose the action level. First you fix the learning level, then you choose the action verb. Start writing each learning outcome with an action verb or performance part. So use only one action verb in general, and the course learning outcome may be at understand level and higher. For each course, learning outcome, CLOs, cognitive level must be mentioned. The number of course learning outcome must be between 5 and 8. According to UGC, there are CLOs, course learning outcomes may be 5 to 8. In order to write the course learning outcome, you have a performance part and you have a STEM part. And the STEM part is after completion of this course, student will be able to explain. Student will be able to explain. Explain one. So you have to use only action verb. So in order to and whatever verb you are using, it should be observable. It should be observable and measurable. It should be observable and measurable. So you do not use verbs like know, understand, appreciate, believe, imagine, think, which are not measurables. Hello, am I audible? Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So you have any doubt to write the course learning outcomes? Shall I go to the next slide? So this is the practical part, that is why. So formulating course learning outcomes, cognitive level versus action verb. So the same action verb is listed under more than one cognitive level in the literature. We must not decide the higher cognitive level based on the action verb chosen simply. So action verb distinguish is listed under understand level and also at analyze level. If thinking level is at lower level, cognitive level must be indicated as understanding level. If the thinking level is higher level, then the cognitive level must be indicated as analyze level. Because certain verbs are listed in different levels in literature. You go that, you can see that. So action verb distribution is listed at understanding level, also at the analysis level. If the thinking level is lower level, the cognitive must be indicated as understand level. If the thinking level is, suppose you are writing distinguish. So distinguish is in understanding level and also in the analyze level also. Suppose you are writing in course learning outcome, if it is you are giving the thinking level is lower, you give it in the understanding level. If thinking level is higher, you have to give it in the analyze level. Because while formulating course learning outcome, action verbs, there are so many clarification you need. Some action verb are the same action verb in understanding level it is there, and also it is there in the application level or analysis level. Suppose I am taking one example that distinguish. It is listed in understanding level and also it is listed in an analyze level. If the thinking level is at lower level, the cognitive level must be indicated as understand level. If the thinking level is at higher level, then cognitive level must be indicated as analyze level. Hope you understood. So if any subject content is discussed in a class and is remembered and recalled by a student, the cognitive level is remembered only. Because the cognitive levels apply, analyze, evaluate, creates always refer to unknown context, familiar but not discussed in the class and the real-time problems. If the student's project mini or major, there are large scope for learning outcomes for a cognitive level such as create, evaluate, etc. So therefore, the cognitive level of each learning outcome has to be carefully understood. The students will be able to understand clearly what cognitive level they have to reach at the learning outcome. So we have to clearly mention the learning outcome because remembering is any subject content can be discussed in the class, remembered and recalled by the student. The cognitive level is remembering. Because once we are teaching something and student is reproducing that is in the remember only. All other apply, analyze, evaluate, create, etc. They are higher order. They are refers to the unknown context, familiar but not discussed in the class in the real-time problems. So whatever they learn, they apply it in a new situation, and that is called applies, analyze, evaluate, and etc. So whatever they learned in the remember, that they can remember only, they can reproduce it, that is in the remember level only. So the students must be learned. So usefulness of Bloom's taxonomy in the cognitive domain. So guideline to curriculum developer. It helps the curriculum developer to formulate the learning outcomes for a given course called course learning outcomes CLOs. So without CLOs we cannot. So CLOs are very important. Based on the CLOs we are determining our methodology, we are determining our method of instruction, materials, assignment, alignment, etc. there. And teacher explains the CLOs to the students in the first day of instruction. And students with clarity and direction to master the subject, they can focus on learning, put necessary effort, time to achieve the learning outcomes. Now what we are doing is we are going to the class and directly we are starting. But course learning, before starting the course, we should tell them this is the course learning outcome. These are the expected outcomes from you. Then the children can question us, ma'am, I cannot achieve this outcome. So in order to achieve this outcome, what can I do? So if the students are not aware about the learning, course learning outcomes, how they can understand whether they are achieved? That is a problem now. So after completing a course, the student does not know what they know, what they are understood, how they can do in that particular field, what things they can do, what things they can create, what things they can design. They do not know. So every instruction, so teacher should equip himself or herself with methods and materials of instruction, as well as assessment and alignment with the CLOs. So CLOs is very important. As teachers, we know how to formulate CLOs. So course learning outcome for as far as in college teachers, university is preparing course learning outcomes, but you have to, and I don't believe so, even the teachers doesn't see the course learning outcomes in the syllabus. They didn't even look at it. What are the course learning outcomes? So you have to clearly study what are the course learning outcomes given. So based on that course learning outcomes, you have to direct the children. So you have to understand clearly what are the course learning outcomes. Based on that only you have to prepare the people. So course learning outcomes are very important in the sense that without course learning outcomes, suppose I am telling you a course learning outcome. So program learning outcome and course learning outcomes are encourage, helping the, suppose we are preparing a course learning outcome such as can anybody say one course learning outcome from your syllabus? Anybody can say yours? Hello? Do you know the course learning outcome of your syllabus? Or program learning outcome is different from course learning outcome. So when you are preparing the course learning outcome, you should clearly mention the action verb. Suppose the course learning outcome is, so it has two parts. First part is there is performance parts and the STEM part. STEM part is the student should be able to explain, or student should be able to create a logo. Suppose that is the assignment, course learning outcome. After completion of the course, student should be able to create different types of logos related to environment. So suppose that is a course learning outcome. So before starting the class, you should clearly mention the students, this is the CLOs. And then after completing, and students will have a clarity and direction to master the subject. So they can focus on learning. So they can focus on that how to create a logo and what is the importance of logo, and what are the various ways in this creating a logo, and what are the different kinds of logos related to environment. All these things, resources they are searching, and finally they can make necessary effort to and time to achieve the learning outcome. If we are not saying, they cannot. So that is the usefulness of a outcome. So this is a course learning outcome. Analyze the classroom process including teacher effectiveness, school and organization. Critically evaluate the psychological models and methods of assessment in education. So this is cognitive level analyze, cognitive level evaluate, cognitive level apply. So the action verb is critic evaluate. Here the analyze, here demonstrate, here explain. So after completion of this course, this is the STEM part. This is the performance part. So after completion of the course, student will be able to analyze the classroom process. Student should be able to analyze the classroom process. Student can critically evaluate psychological models. Students can demonstrate a critical understanding, demonstrate a critical explain. So all levels it is given. Suppose you are giving this analyze, critically evaluate psychological models and methods to the assessment in education. This model should be given to the student. So after the completion, he will try to make a report by critically analyzing, and he is giving the report that is the outcome of his learning. So outcome-based education in India, origin of outcome-based education in India. So I told you that outcome-based education started in 1990 by Australia, South Africa, Canada. This accord is signed initially in 89 by Australia, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, United Kingdom, United States, etc. in 1989. But they adopted it in this curriculum in 1990, and United States adopted it in 1994. And this is actually this Washington Accord is a mutual agreement of, for what we call engineering section only, and India became a signatory in Washington Accord in June 13 and 2004. And the member countries follow outcome-based accreditation of the UG programs, and that is they are only used in engineering. So National Board of Accreditation (NBA) framed a framework for engineering students in 2014, and all engineering colleges joined there. But in 2019, UGC formulated graduate attributes for programs like science, arts, commerce, humanities, and thought out learning outcome-based framework for these programs. Therefore, curriculum design of the program in science, arts, commerce, and humanities have to be done with the learning outcome-based framework. So this learning outcome-based curriculum framework was incorporated by UGC in the year 2019. So UGC has formulated a graduate attributes for the program in science, arts, commerce, humanities, etc. So therefore, design for programs in science, arts, commerce, humanities has to be done within the learning outcome-based framework of UGC. If you are going to the NAC peer team report, suppose you are doing the first criteria, that is teaching, learning, first criteria is teaching, learning, before that curriculum, design and development. That is the first criteria. So if you go to curriculum design and development, you can see the concepts outcome-based and the learning outcome-based curriculum framework, all these things. Suppose sometimes there is a NAC is very much concerned with the outcome-based curriculum framework, because all accreditation is outcome-based. So accreditation institution based on institution outcome, that is when the institution is accredited. So now they are bringing these principles in teaching, learning also, that is outcome-based education or curriculum framework, LOCF. It is introduced by UGC in the year 2019. So based on that, UGC is implementing in all the UGC is giving instructions to all universities to change their curriculum framework according to 2019. All central universities are this 2019, it's beginning of 2020, January, we have all changed our curriculum to new framework, outcome-based framework. Now it starts in other universities. Once you go for NAC, it is compulsory that outcome-based curriculum framework. So I thought I am skipping the objectives of learning-based, outcome-based learning. Because this outcome-based learning, the most important objective is to formulate graduate attributes, qualification, descriptor, program learning outcome, course learning outcome are expected to be held by a demonstrator for a qualification, and enable prospective students and parents, employees, all stakeholders to acquire skills, knowledge, values, attitudes, etc., maintain national standards, international comparability. So these are all the things you can understand. Next is graduate attributes. Actually, first graduate attributes are formulated by what we call for a engineering section only, but UGC has created so many graduate attributes in the for graduate engineers in this 21st century, and the graduate attributes of a UGC were engineers that I don't explain. This is a graduate attributes first in the UGC document in 2019, and based on that we have to prepare. These are the graduate attributes, means is a set of generic knowledge, skills and attitudes that is every individual has to attain. Every individual, there is a set of generic knowledge. These are the three things we have outcome-based education is aiming at: knowledge, skills and attitudes. So general attributes of a that is teacher education, arts and science colleges, science, commerce, social sciences, etc. are
First one is disciplinary knowledge. That is, every child has to demonstrate a comprehensive knowledge and skills in teaching, in learning. In that particular course, the child should learn some disciplinary knowledge. That means comprehensive knowledge and skills of learning. Next is critical thinking. That is, we can critically evaluate a program, whether it is BSc Physics or Mathematics, critically evaluate practices, policies, theories on the basis of empirical evidence by following a scientific approach of knowledge and development. So, graduate attributes are something that the generic knowledge every child has to acquire regarding knowledge, skill, and this. So, first children has to acquire disciplinary knowledge, that is comprehensive knowledge and skills regarding the program. Second is critical thinking, that is they can critically evaluate the practices, policies, theories, evaluate the practices, policies, etc. Practices, policies, etc. And next is problem solving. So they have to solve different kinds of analytical reasoning different kinds of problems that is pertain to that particular area. Next comes analytical reasoning, that is they have the ability to evaluate the reliability and evidence. They have the ability to evaluate the reliability and relevance of evidence, identify the logical roles made by arrangement of others, analyze and synthesize data from a variety of sources and draw valid conclusion. So analytical reasoning is very important. So in science subject, the children has to demonstrate the ability to evaluate the reliability and identify the logical arguments of others, analyze and synthesize the data, the variety of sources, etc. And research related skills. That is a sense of inquiry and capability of asking relevant and appropriate questions. That is ability to recognize cause and effect relationship, define problems, formulate hypotheses. These are the analytical reasoning. Research related skills. Then collaboration and cooperative. There's the ability to work effectively with diverse learners or diverse teams, facilitate cooperative and coordinated effort to form a group, to become a part of the group. That is why now engineering colleges are starting group discussion and teaching life skills. Now life skills are teaching in every institution. So next is the scientific reasoning using quantitative and qualitative data. They know how to use quantitative and qualitative data, qualitative analysis. So based on some samples, they can give proper conclusions regarding something. And reflective thinking. Reflective thinking means thinking about thinking. It's a very important thing in learning. Now in schools, teachers are using reflective journals, etc. Reflective thinking is thinking about our own thinking. Thinking about our own thinking. That is called the reflective thinking. And also information and digital literacy, that is a very important competency. Everybody has to, children has to learn, that it demonstrate the use of ICT in various learning situations, demonstrate ability to access, evaluate and relevant information from various sources including e-resources, use appropriate software analysis, etc. And self-directed learning. So the child has to be, the self-directed learning means demonstrate the ability to acquire knowledge and skills including learning how to learn, that we have already discussed, and necessary for participating in learning activities. Another important thing the in graduate attributes is multicultural competencies, that it demonstrate knowledge of values and beliefs of multiple cultures on a global perspective effectively. And they wanted to engage in multicultural society, interact, respect the responsibility with the diverse groups. Moral and ethical awareness. Demonstrate the ability to identify ethical issues related to teaching and research. Avoid unethical behaviors such as fabrication, falsification, misinterpretation, committing plagiarism, not adhering to the intellectual property rights, standing against environmental sustainability issues, etc. And next is leadership and readiness qualities. Demonstrate capability of mapping out what we need to win or a team as an organization. Also, you have a clear vision, build a teamwork. All these are coming that. And learning is lifelong learning. That is also learning. That is whatever you learn, the children should be used in the lifelong. And whatever the program they learn, there is enough scope for a lifelong learning. So these are the graduate attributes. And based on that, every institution has to form their vision. So those who are NAC accreditation, they know what is mission. I am not explaining what is mission. And based on that, we are forming qualification descriptors. Based on qualification descriptors, we are forming program learning outcome. Based on PLOs, we are forming course learning outcomes. So course learning outcomes, maybe 5 to 8 is the course learning outcome as per UGC norms. So vision, first we have to, vision is a futuristic statement, and mission is essentially to achieve the vision. How we can achieve vision is called a mission. Hope you know that vision is a futuristic statement. What in future we have to attain the institution department to achieve after a long period. That is why UGC and NAC is, first we have a vision and then mission. Mission is a statement or essentially to means what, how we are achieving. And qualification descriptors are very essential. They are also again the generic outcome of attributes expected to be awarded after a particular, if you get a particular qualification, for example, a bachelor's degree or an honors or a master's degree. First you have to describe what in your institution, whatever is there, what are the attributes of a master's degree, particular qualification. Where in bachelor's degree qualification descriptor is different, in honors it is different, in masters it is different. It also describes the academic standard of specific qualification in terms of levels of knowledge and understanding, skills and competencies, and attitudes and levels, etc. The qualification descriptors reflects disciplinary knowledge and understanding as well as generic terms include global competencies. Because qualification descriptors of master's program, graduate programs are given in a UGC website, you can go and you can learn what are the qualification descriptors that is already formed because of lack of time. So next is very important, program learning outcome. So based on qualitative descriptors and we are preparing program learning outcome. Usually program learning outcome is prepared for a program. For example, a master's program in economics or a master's in physics or a master's in chemistry. All this program we are preparing a program learning outcome. So usually PLOs are prepared by the universities or PLOs are prepared by the departments for that particular program. For example, our department is conducting a master's program in education. So there is a common in that master's in MED we have so in every semester we have to study four courses. So first year we have to study philosophy, sociology, psychology, technology, etc. So while we are preparing program learning outcome, for that particular MED course, we are preparing the program learning outcome. From that program learning outcome, we are preparing course learning outcome. From that, we are preparing course specific outcomes. And then we have to map all these things, and that is called mapping in the, and after that, we are preparing the syllabus based on that. So what content area we are preparing based on that. So in that particular program, what all things, so based on the syllabus, what program learning objectives or MED degree based on all the subjects, we are preparing a program learning outcome. Because in physics there are, in first semester you have, for example in physics there are first semester you have 4 papers, second semester plus 2 theory, 2 practical, second semester again 4 and plus 2 practical, third semester again 4 and 2 practical, and fourth semester sometimes 2 paper and some project or something like that. So while you are preparing program learning outcome, you have to prepare the for the whole program. For BSc Physics Masters program, you are preparing the program learning outcome. From that program that program learning outcome should be based on qualification descriptors that are attained by the students and they are based on graduate attributes and program learning outcomes. If you wanted to prepare program learning outcome, that should be based on qualification descriptors, and you have to see the what we call graduate attributes and qualification descriptors. So that is based on that we are preparing program learning outcome. The outcomes and attributes specified in qualification descriptors are attained by students through learning acquired and completion of a program of study. So a program learning outcome, what are the things that should be included in a program learning outcome? Subject specific skill and generic skills. Generic skills, you know, knowledge, attitude and skills, including transferable global skills, competencies, achievement of a specific program that demonstrate for the award of a degree or a diploma. So if you get an award for a degree or a diploma, what specific skills you have to be attained? That should be in the program name. And it should also focus on further study, employment and citizenship, and may be drafted in accordance with the PLOs and graduate attributes with relevant QDs. So once you are preparing program learning output, you need not see all these things. First thing you have to remember is program learning outcomes are outcomes and attributes described in the qualification descriptors that are attained by the students through learning that particular or completion of the, if suppose you are completing masters in physics. So in qualification describer, some outcomes are given. So based on that, what the students is achieved that is given in a program of study. So there are what are the specific skill and what are the general skills you are getting after you are completing a degree or a diploma, and what are the scope for further study, employment and citizenship. These are the two things in program learning outcome. And it should be prepared in accordance with the graduate attributes and it prepared in accordance with the qualification description. Understood? So first we are stating vision and mission. Graduate attributes and qualification descriptors are already given by the UGC. So based on that you have to prepare mission and mission. Based on that you have to prepare the program learning outcome, and program learning outcome is after completing a program what learning outcomes you are attained and what is your further scope for study and what is your further employment scope, etc. should be mentioned in program learning outcome. And based on the program learning outcome, you have to prepare course learning outcome CLOs. So I already mentioned how course learning outcome can be prepared. So the term course is used with the individual courses. Course learning outcome are the specific to learning, and course learning outcomes with cognitive level. I have already explained that. Based on that, we are designing course learning outcome, because course learning outcome CLOs I clearly explain and how to prepare it and how we are using action verb. All this I described. And next is the course learning outcome, that is cognitive level in each CLOs. And next, how you are mapping the CLOs with one or more PLOs in the form of a table. Then you give the detailed syllabus. And then course learning outcomes of each courses, course planning and delivery. Syllabus must not be heavy. So you have to mention after the syllabus what are the teaching methods you are using, what are the learning activities, what are the assessment tools and methods you are using. So in OBE curriculum, emphasis is not on deep learning, is on deep learning and learning at higher levels like apply, analyze, evaluate. So the content, it is not a traditional content based curriculum. So best practice is to link the syllabus is coverage hour per hour depending upon the number of contact hours. And it is based on deep learning, how we are learning deeply into one subject and how we are acquiring higher order cognitive skills are very important in outcome based learning. So mapping is once you are doing only you can understand how we can map at course level, program level and institutional level. This is that is outcomes. That is, you have to say the vision and mission statements, then program educational objectives, from program outcomes, then course outcomes, thus continuous improvement, how, then the course is planning, delivery and syllabus, teaching methods, learning activities, assessment. The first one. First you have to institutional assessment, program assessment and course assessment. So what we can do in this future plan? Curriculum design as per LCF framework in MA programs, or faculty training on curriculum design as per LIS, CF and UGC, finalizing vision and mission statements of the schools or department, interaction with the stakeholders for formulation of a qualitative descriptor. Also university can finalize QDS, PLOs and for MA or a MSc program. Courses, departmental elective, open electives, choice-based credit system, all this should be different. Then mapping between this. Then implementation of and this is not needed. This is not needed for only universities, it is needed. So challenges and issues in implementation of OBE. So learner-related challenges. Lack of prerequisite knowledge, skills and attitude in students to learn a particular course. That is the most important challenge as teachers we are facing. Especially in science subject, prerequisite knowledge is very essential. Skills are very essential. Attitudes are very essential to learn a particular course. And lack of motivation and aptitude to learn courses in particular program. If a person doesn't have any scientific attitude, if he learn in physics or chemistry, if a person doesn't have any reasoning ability or logical thinking, if he is learning mathematics, there is no value. So students earlier experience up to 12th standard in the learning process, which is mark oriented, exam oriented at lot learning, it is not outcome based. And also students doesn't have any laboratory skills, they doesn't have any process skills. And also much greater effort and more time to be spent to obtain good grades, so resistance to new system. Nobody is intended to follow a particular system, because there are so many learner related challenges we are facing as teachers. We are facing so many learner related challenges. Lack of prerequisite knowledge, skills and attitude in students to learn a particular course. Lack of students' motivation and aptitude to learn a course in particular. Students' earlier experience up to 12th standard, the learning process is mark-oriented, exam-oriented, etc. And they have inadequate experience in laboratory and process skills. So there is a greater resistance from the part of teachers from the system. There is teachers are and infrastructure and institutional environment, large class size and diverse learners. So if diverse learners are there, so where 80 students or 60 students are in a graduation classroom, how we can assess all these people? Because activity based things cannot be learned. Teaching learning strategies we can follow only lecture method. If we are giving an activity, there is very difficult to control the classroom. Institutional skills and culture, environment, all these are there. So now it is curriculum in LOCF, it is learner centered curriculum, choice based, but these are all only in paper. Actually, we are not following. That is because of these challenges. Because 80 students are in a classroom, it is very difficult for a teacher to follow some certain methods. For example, if a laboratory method or a project method or something, if in order to 40 students are doing 40 projects, how a teacher can evaluate, it is very difficult. And adequate number of qualified and competent faculty related and student-teacher ratio. Faculty members' learning experience as students in teacher-centered syllabus-based exam-oriented system, not in OBE. More time and greater effort needed during initial years of implementation. Problems during transition, consistency and implementation among faculty. Even though it is implemented in 2019 by UGC, I think most of the teachers are not aware about OBE curriculum. And I don't know whether in Arts and Science Training College, I know in the training college faculty, before starting a class, no teacher is saying that what method she is using or what kind of instructional strategies are using or what kind of curriculum objectives to be attained. If you are giving learning outcomes to the child, then only the child can understand what he has to learn after completion of the course. Usually even though we are implementing OBE, that is adequate number of qualified and competent faculty is the most important problem. So teachers are the first person who are reluctant to accept any new system of education. Once OBE is implemented, so teachers has to do so many works and there is burden on the part of the teachers, that is sure. But teacher has to be well like the digital literacy is very essential. And if teacher-student ratio is very high, it is very difficult for a teacher to implement OE. And a learning experience should be now also it is in teacher-centered, not in the learner-centered. So how many teachers are implementing brainstorming, quiz session, quiz down, such kind of activities we are not using in the classroom. We are still following the initial lecture methods of teaching. We are some problem is solving in the board and students are solving in their notebook and the class is finished and that kind of a thing that takes place in the normal classroom. So there are more time and greater effort is needed in the initial years of implementation. So once this is implemented, once this is implemented, how beautiful the system then only you can understand. So these teachers, students and administrators work together with all sincerity, implementation of OBE system is possible with a greater attainment of achievements. Because once it is implemented, we can understand the true spirit of producing knowledgeable, skilled, competent, creative and ethical graduates who can contribute to the progress of the country. Once it is implemented in a systematic way, we can see the most knowledgeable, skilled, competent, creative and ethical graduate who can contribute to the progress of the country. So we can see such students. So there are so many aspects in which there are problems in implementation of this, but we cannot say that once it is implemented properly, we can say that the students are come out with a, because if they come into the society, they are useful to the society and they are useful to themselves. They know what they learned from that particular graduation. When this is implemented properly, we can say that all engineering graduates are joined in banks as clerks or POs. So then what purpose they are learning their engineering graduation? There is no purpose. So once you are studying one course, that should be implemented in the application level, that you should be learned something from that and you can contribute something to the society. For that aspect, this kind of curriculum is very essential, because by implementing OBE, we can understand how it is, how we can work it better for a society. So it was introduced in 2019 by UGC. So gradually implemented fully. So once it is implemented, definitely we can get the true spirit of producing more knowledgeable, skilled, competent, creative and ethical graduate. There is no doubt about that. So if you want, I will show you how to assess OBE curriculum or how to prepare a lesson. But I think for arts and science colleges, this kind of lessons are not necessary, but you can understand how you can implement different methods of teaching if you want. Otherwise, if you have any doubt, I will answer.
If anybody has any doubts, please ask after unmuting yourselves.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, this outcome-based education, why is it necessary now? Is it because the students are not able to use their knowledge or what they knowledge they acquired in real life? Is it because outcome-based education is required?
I told you that outcome-based education is required because one person who is completed electronics engineering, but he do not know how to repair a TV in his home. So he is going to a mechanic who has an ITI degree. He is repairing his TV. This fellow is studying 4 years in electronics engineering and he is going to an ITI person who is studying in 1 year, or he is practicing some technical something, or like that also a mechanical engineering or an automobile engineering. Once some problem come to the car, he go to the mechanic, to a mechanic. That is a failure of our system. Because we are all content oriented and we are content rich, and as teachers we are providing so much of content. But how this in the practice, how we can use it in our practical life, how we can relate it with our environment, how we can use it in our real experience, And also after completing one particular course, as a teacher, can you say that in 60 students are there, which student is competent in this particular area, this student is, because after completing MSc, I know so many people, so many my students, after completing MSc Physics and MEd, most of them are now working in banks. What is the purpose of completing MEd? While going for the interview for a bank officer, he will not reveal the truth that he completed MEd. If he reveal the truth, he will not get that they are going. So what purpose? What is his education and what is? So that is why OBE, there lies the importance of OBE. If there is a clear cut, students also know that if I study this particular course, I have this much of competency I can acquire this kind of skill. Then that is why in OBE curriculum, it is telling that before starting the course, we have to tell the students, teacher has to tell the students, you are acquiring these kinds of competency, skills and attitudes. Because in OBC curriculum, students are responsible for their learning and not teachers. So student has to analyze whether he has the capacity to, whether I acquired this competency, whether I acquired this skill. So after completing, he should also know. And teacher has to use some assessment tools and teacher has to test whether he attained it or not. And after, if teacher is testing properly, teacher can also say that my student is competent in this area. My student is competent in this particular area. Now in B.Ed also what we are doing, we are going and seeing the class and we are putting the internals, and some students are taking classes very good, then we are giving them A+. And after completing that A+, also most of the students are not going for teaching. Those who are completed with a C grade or D grade, they are going for teaching and the other people will go for somewhere else. So in order to, according to the need of the society, according to the need of the stakeholders, education system should provide that kind of graduates. That is why we are, that is why there lies the need of outcome-based education. Are you clear? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Almost, ma'am.
So what is your doubt?
Okay, now my doubt is like, is whether the students, is it that problem, like the unemployability or underemployability of
No, that is not the problem. That is not only the problem in every, that is the way, once we are studying something, if you are not competent in that, what is the purpose? Why we are wasting our energy and money? Why we are wasting, if we are not attaining any competency, there are certain competency we need to attain through studying something. If we cannot attain that competency, what is the purpose of our education? So for to become a clerk for Kerala government, it is a +2 or I think it is SSLC. So by SSLC and you are studying for 1 or 3 years, all these things, you can easily be, not easily, you can become a clerk. For unnecessarily you are spending 7 years for studying MSc Physics, then 2 year for B.Ed and 2 year for MEd, then you go become a clerk. What is the purpose? What is the benefit for the society? What is finally benefit for you? And what is for making an individual, a graduate, a postgraduate, how much money government is spending? Not about employment also, your personal benefits and benefits for the society and demand supply of employment and other, and our accountability to the society. All these things are matters. Not only when you are getting an employment after your MEd degree to become a clerk, it is not only regarding the aspect of employmentability. It's not only the aspect. Whether you may be satisfied or not, that is not the problem, because how much money the government is spending, how much the effort you are taking, after that you cannot attain the thing. What is the purpose of your education? So if it is outcome based, if the students know what exactly they can acquire, then they can work for it.
Okay, understood, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
Okay.
Shall we wind up the session now?
Okay.
Actually, we are hearing about outcome-based education for a long time now. I think from 2019 onwards. But I think nobody has a clear picture about what is outcome education, or after hearing this session or after attending this
I don't
session,
think so. Now also you are not clear about outcome-based education.
but lot of talks are going on. Some just we have got. Anyway, I think
Because once you know Bloom's taxonomy very well, then only you can understand what is outcome-based education. And one more thing is that as only teacher educators are more concerned with this outcome-based education because they are well aware about the Bloom's taxonomy. Once you do not know the Bloom's taxonomy, you cannot write how to formulate learning outcome-based, because in your university the syllabus is prepared and you are getting it as ready-made. So it is no need for most of the teachers. If in a university, if you are preparing the curriculum, then only this is needed. Otherwise also this is needed. But mostly people think that this is not needed. But once there is a NAC or something, then they are asking what is outcome-based education and how to prepare LOCFs. I know that this is a dry topic and also it is very difficult to understand. And so much of concept is also there. So I think till now, you are not aware about what is outcome-based education.
But I have one doubt that is this outcome-based education more based on compartmentalization or something? The holistic picture is lost in outcome-based education.
How?
Means we are focusing for a particular outcome. And
Not only but particular.
And the holistic for now the BS if you take a BSc syllabus, it's a holistic kind of syllabus now. There is English, there is a lot of subjects. There recently there was a post showing that there is only 24% physics in a BSc physics syllabus. That there was an analysis like that. So in such a scenario, is it challenging to make over to a
outcome-based education, that concept is not there. Whatever syllabus or whatever we are preparing, so syllabus that should be based on outcome. We have to assess. It is purely student-centered. That is, regarding syllabus, there is no change. Whatever curriculum we are preparing, that outcome we can clearly. Suppose I told you that in a chapati machine, we are giving what we call some programming is there, and we are writing the 100 chapatis at a time on chapati machine. So we are putting that ingredients, we will get 100 chapatis. Like that, like a machine, because human beings cannot act as a machine, but we can clearly in terms we can say what is the outcome. Suppose a mechanical engineering graduate is completing his mechanical engineering, at least he has to handle on not all machines, some machines he can handle, or at least the student can understand I can work in this particular field. You know that so many physics, you know that how tough the physics, chemistry, mathematics, etc. in post-graduation. So a mathematical graduate or a physics graduate completing MSc mathematics with 80% marks or 90% marks, he is joined in a government office as a clerk. What use to the society and what use is, after some years he becomes frustrated. He cannot. For a clerk it is only SSLC 10th degree or plus 2 is only necessary. So after completing MSc degree, and he doesn't know in what areas, he himself doesn't know what area he is competent, what is the outcome of his education. Once outcome-based education comes, every student know what are his competencies, what are his abilities. So after completing this course, suppose I am doing a master's in education, after completing this course, my teacher can say that my student is competent in communication skill, or he has some teacher competency, she has some particular that is soft skills, she developed some soft skills or some life skills, etc. And I have also understood that I am competent in teaching in plus 2, or I am competent in teaching that particular subject. I have some teaching competency, I have good communication skill, how to communicate with my children. All these things I can, every child can understand their competency. Also teacher can clearly say that my child is competent in that particular area. if outcome-based education comes in the full-fledged. That doesn't mean that it can be treated in watertight compartment. In traditional system, actually in traditional system, I don't know you people, no, I am not telling like that, because you are from arts and science college, there is no need to understand. In traditional system, subjects are treated as watertight compartments. I will tell you one example. Because suppose I am studying geography in small classes, that is in 8th and 9th. I am just studying geography as because there is every time there is a question, cloudy days are more hotter than sunny days. So I have answered in every time and I got very good marks in geography, but only when I am studying in B.Ed, I came to know that why sunny days are hotter than cloudy days are hotter than sun. Because no teacher is teaching geography in relation to physics. Centrifugal force and centripetal force are that causes high tide and neap tide. While a geography teacher is teaching high tide and neap tide, no teacher is teaching what is centrifugal, what is centripetal force. Because this is a concept from physics. When physics and geography are combined together, then only the children will get the clarity of concept. But that kind of teaching is not in the traditional system. Geography is treated as geography, physics is treated as physics. That is, if you want to get a holistic approach in that we have to teach, because India's history is influenced by the geographical features. If Himalaya is not there, this is not the culture of India. India is a peninsula. That is why different culture came to India. That is why British came, French came, Dutch came, and we have a mixed culture. So we are teaching, tying geography with history. Physics is tying with, a national integration can be built, can be taught through mathematics. We can teach national integration through mathematics. If a teacher is teaching national integration, but nowadays what our teachers are saying, oh, it is Independence Day, social science teacher has to speak. Because Independence Day is for social science teacher, and January 26th is for a social science teacher. August 15th is for social science teacher. What is this? Any teacher can teach in national integration in students. So now in traditional system, we are teaching subjects in watertight compartments. Once OBE comes, that never happens. So OBE is for attaining one particular competency. We need so many skills we are needed. For example, I am telling you that brain is, that brain theory. Brain is composed of different faculties. One is for mathematics, one is for languages. We are teaching languages for what? Developing imagination. We are teaching mathematics for logical reasoning. We are teaching history for memory. So if you have memory and you have no logical reasoning, how you will learn mathematics? How you learn you have a logical reasoning. You are very good in logic and you are good in science. But you don't have any memory. What is the purpose of learning? So if you learn physics or chemistry or mathematics, there is no use. So I don't think so that, as you said, OBC is never treated subject in watertight compartments. So if you wanted to acquire one competency, so if you wanted to design new logo, suppose for example after studying MPA or studying some, that is a stock exchange or accountancy or any subject, MBA or financial management or something, after that in advertisement, MBA people, they are for one company, you can make a caption of an advertisement, suppose for selling chappals. So the company is asking you to prepare a caption. If you don't have any language, how can you prepare a caption? Or if you wanted to prepare a logo, you don't have any digital literacy, how will you prepare a logo? So that obviously doesn't treat subjects at watertight compartments. If you wanted to acquire one competency, you need so many other competencies. So with so many other competencies, so it is outcome-based education is purely based on outcomes of students. And the child can understand after completing a master's or a degree, what are the competencies I have, what are the knowledge I have, what are the skills I have. And teacher can also say that, suppose you are my student, I am saying that, Suppose Rani is my student, I am saying that Rani is very competent in communication skill. She can use that skill anywhere. So she has a good logical reasoning, or she can she can prepare this, or she can prepare an e-portfolio, or she can summarize this, so she can describe this. So such kind of clear-cut outcomes we can say. So now our education, after completing a master's in physics, the children doesn't know what competency they have. Their teacher also doesn't. Suppose one day your student is coming and asking, sir, after these 3 years you are teaching me chemistry, what competency I have, what do you say? So in outcome-based education, teacher and student is very much aware about what is the outcome of education. Such kind, that simply outcome education is that only. It is based on purely the outcomes. What outcomes the student should have after completing a course. And for that, we have to prepare course learning outcome like that. That is why in Bloom's taxonomy, this nouns are transferred into action verb. What a teacher can able to do in a classroom, or what a student can able to perform after completing a one particular course. So what kind of teaching experiences teacher is giving, what kind of curriculum you are preparing, what kind of assessment tools you are preparing, etc. Usually in a traditional system, what we are doing in examination also, we are just checking the memory of the students and in their creating some question. But now there are so many questions are there. Suppose you are giving a caption and you are asking the child to evaluate that, and you are giving some data, and you can ask the child to analyze and write a report on that. So when he is writing a report, that is a clear evidence there is some outcome is there. But in earlier, what the teacher is teaching in the classroom, the children are writing it, and now also it is happening. Even though it is outcome-based education, if you are not properly using the brainstorming session or a new methodology of teaching, and nowadays again there is another that is in creative thinking we are using some conventional this kind of brainstorming session, etc. There is a new, recently I read a literature regarding anti-conventional thinking. That is against creative thinking, they are coming with an Anderson, one psychologist coming with an anti-conventional thinking. That is, conventional thinking is brainstorming, etc. That is in the Western, they are again new methods are adopting, that is anti-conventional thinking. So such kind of changes are coming. So if we are adopting outcome-based, but there are so many difficulties, and even now we don't have any proper assessment tools. Even though rating scale we can use, rating scale has its own limitations. Then we are going to rubrics. Rubrics also in rubrics we can get a much small, higher order thinking we can analyze, but preparing rubrics for everything, it is very difficult for the teacher. And also once the system is implemented in the full-fledged system, we need so many infrastructure facilities, so many other facilities, competencies, so many training, etc. are needed, but it is already implemented in so many countries.
Thank you, ma'am. You have given us a very detailed explanation about objective-based education and outcome-based education. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your time, and thank you for this detailed class. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Shall I leave?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.